Hola, creeps. It's Jesse the Body Ventura here taking over for Doc Fugit today. He didn't have me on for the Predator episode of the podcast, so your governor, Jesse the Body Ventura, is here instead of your stupid fucking adventure brother gimmick television show. I'm here to talk about handguns. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just really upset that I really didn't get to do my Jesse the Body Ventura in our episode that's coming out tomorrow about Predator. But hey, you just got it a little bit early, actually, a little sneak peek. I got everybody except for him, and I was pretty upset about it. Alright, well, back again, creeps. Welcome back for another Venture video. We're not going to be talking about handguns. Sadly, this might be one of the last installments, unless I come back and do a more thorough recap of the older episodes. I don't know. You're going to have to ask me for that. Tell me in the comments if you'd like to see that. Since the episode count has yet to be revealed, I do have a sneaking suspicion, though, that it's going to be 10 episodes tops, and we're at 7. And then we wait once more. They haven't announced that they have started Season 8 yet, but with all the careful work they've put in advancing the story so far since last season, I really think that there has to be some sort of end game in mind. But I know we're going to probably have about 3 or 4 more years until we actually get more, unfortunately. Because for those who are complaining about the gap between 6 and 7, they literally had those made back to back. With their level of meticulous creative control, there's no way a season can be pumped out in under 2 years. And it's been proven. That's just for me saying you're going to have to prepare to wait again. And I'm ready to wait again. It's a good enough show that I'm committed enough to wait. Anyway, this week's episode is another amazing example of why this is one of the best shows ever and why you should be patient for it. With the usual insanely dense story and seemingly endless jokes perfectly fit into said jam-packed story. The opening scene of this episode, the unicorn in captivity, we see the result of what looks like months or at least weeks of work. And we get Rusty, Billy, and Pete finally have something that works, a fully functional teleportation device. After they're able to manage to send an apple through without rendering it into cubes or fucking whatever, a bunch of weird fly shit happened to it. And then they do the same thing with the pirate captain, unbeknownst to him, so they have a human test subject, and it worked. So Rusty and the others are ready to bring this public. And I mean, they're very excited because this is gonna etch them in stone in the history books and put Ventec back on the map and maybe finally get Rusty some kind of confidence boost. But if you're an initiated fan, you know that that's about as likely as pigs flying. So, while all this is happening, we find Monarch 21 and Dr. Girlfriend having some breakfast in their beautifully redecorated home, and we learn that Monarch's next attempt to climb back up the ranks of the guild is going to be by acting as a substitute in a group of other low-level criminals. A couple of them they've shown before, mainly Copycat, who's the leader. He's the Dean Martin knockoff guy who's able to make myriad duplicates of himself. We also get another very fun, brand new guild member, Presto Changeo, who is voiced by none other than Luke Skywalker and the Joker himself, Mark Hamill, who they're able to bring back into his Batman the Animated Series voice like they were able to get Kevin Conroy to do Captain Sunshine sound, it was a very reminiscent of his Batman voice. This is pretty reminiscent of Hamill's Joker voice. It's kind of different, though, because he has said that he had to retire the voice because it was just fucking destroying his vocal cords. The most mysterious out of all these cats is a guy named Driver X, who's another new one, but there is no voice. All he does is a little, that little salute that people do. Like, the getaway driver. They don't really say anything. They just fucking salute. So, meanwhile, Rusty is realizing what exactly the dummy corporation is that we were talking about in a couple episodes earlier, because he has told Brock that Rusty's back on top. Rusty's gonna get back on the map. But Brock takes him into a part of his own building that he is completely unaware of himself, and the dummy corp ends up, I think, it seems like it's some sort of fucking, Westworld facility where they're making, synthetic operatives. Anyway, Brock takes him to see General Hunter Gathers, who tells him he did a real great job with the teleporter, but there's no way he can put it out. It's too much for the world to handle, so tough break, Rusty. This one's too dangerous to go out in the real world. So Rusty is obviously arguing with him on this, as Hunter and Brock leave him in the room to simmer on what he's said, and that he's denied listening to them. And all of a sudden we get some
silhouettes pop up around him on screens, much like we had for the Council of 13 for the Guild of Calamitous Intent in past seasons until they were killed by the past sovereign. But this is the OSI's version of like the Illuminati. Like I was very excited because Roy Brisby from season 1 was one of them, and he's always been one of my favorite characters, you see. But yeah, this is a really fun bit. Rusty ends up getting caught up in like the Illuminati, and like they tell him to like come to a party, and it ends up being at like I don't know if you're a fan of Eyes Wide Shut, but there's this family which is, I don't know, like linked in supposedly with the Illuminati and blah blah blah. They had all these parties back in the 70s, and in Eyes Wide Shut, Stanley Kubrick copied this family's house, the Rothschilds, and a bunch of stuff that happened at these parties, and supposed he died like 3 days after the final cut of this movie was shown to people. So I mean, it's really not that much of a stretch that could have gotten him killed, because he literally died 3 days later and no one said anything about him being sick or anything. So the Venture Bros is doing the exact same thing, because this party that Rusty's going to looks exactly the same as this Eyes Wide Shut scene. The house looks exactly the same as the house in Eyes Wide Shut, which also if you look it up, looks exactly like the Rothschild's house. Do an image search on Google and it'll freak you the fuck out. And inside is a wild fuck party of all of the most like elite people in the world. I mean, a lot of people I've seen are very interested whether or not we're going to get an unedited version of this, because there is some wild fucking going on that had to get blurred out. And to answer that, I think that we're definitely going to get it, because I think, yeah, season 3 in the second episode with Dr. Killinger, where he's with Rusty, we see, I mean, it got blocked out on TV, but in the DVD you can see fucking Jonas Sr.'s cock. So I think it's pretty likely that we're going to see all the fucking at the fuck party. But, I mean, I don't know. These guys are so good at designing, like, human bodies that I'm honestly just, like, really interested to see it. Because even in, like, the little bits that they got to show of the bodies, it's like, Jesus Christ, these guys are like fucking Frank Frazetta. They know every single contour of a body. So while Rusty is there, he thinks that he's in, like, fucking Flint, and that he's just become part of the elite because of his discovery. But when he is taken into a back room where he is led to by none other than Dr. Girlfriend in a mask, and I mean, pretty obviously her. I mean, how would you mistake that voice and that haircut under a mask? So in that, they're inferring that Dr. Girlfriend has been groomed to fuck all of the most, like, wealthy men in the world, like people think Marilyn Monroe was, and blah blah blah. Like, that's what the whole message of Eyes Wide Shut was. So Rusty gets told to go and meet her in one of the back rooms at some point at whatever o'clock, and the whole group that was the silhouettes on the screen are there in masks, much like they were in Eyes Wide Shut, and Roy Brisby is indeed there. So what they do is they offer him an ultimatum rather than, you know, him thinking that he's just going to get laid. They tell him, you know, give us your idea and, you know, you're going to fuck Dr. Girlfriend's brains out. Or if you don't want to give it up, and a guy comes out with a humongous, like, disgusting, terrifying strap-on on. They said, you can take this up the ass. So, with us, it's either you fuck or you get fucked. What do you want to do? Leaving Rusty that ultimatum and leaving us on the brink of not knowing exactly what he's going to choose, because he already told the OSI he's not giving it up. But anyway, back in the heist that the Monarch is being forced to take part in, which matter-of-factly ends up being on the Ventec building, Sergeant Hatred and Brock are much more than ready to take on all of these fucking losers who are I mean, there's really no other way to say them. They're not the A team, they're the B team. So, I mean, it's not really worth getting sad over them, because, I mean, other than Presto Chango, who gets a knife to the face from Brock, sadly, and I'm pretty sure died, the rest of them were pretty disposable. It didn't really matter that, I mean, it's Brock. They're probably all dead, except for Copycat, who, like I said, with Driver X, we had no idea who that was. In the end, it turns out to just be an empty suit. So what the fuck's going on? Turns out that was Copycat's ace in the hole. Driver X was a copy of Copycat the whole time, and that's how he survived this whole thing, because he definitely had a good feeling that they were going to not succeed, and he just let everybody else pretty much die, except for the Monarch, who was smart enough to know not to fuck with Brock. So all of them died except for Copycat, who had a pretty... I thought that was a pretty cool plan. But what was it that they were sent to steal? Does this have something to do maybe with that 2 months later thing that I've been talking about so much from episode 4, where the Monarch is fucking on top again, and he's robbing something off of the Ventec boat? Maybe that is what they were sent to steal, and Dr. Z sends the Monarch in to do it. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I think we're going to see by the end of the season. And as we always see in our post-credit scenes, everything's tied together in a nice little bow. And we see what Rusty's choice was in the ultimatum. He chose to fuck rather than be fucked. So he's having a great time while everybody's standing around him, getting ridden like a fucking wild dog by Dr. Girlfriend. And then we see Rusty inside of that same room he was in originally, where Hunter gathers and Brock left him, and he just has some VR goggles on and a giant like a suction thing over his penis. So so he's literally just like they're just saying it. This is all fake bullshit. I think that just goes to show how much credence they take into it's all Illuminati conspiracy. Illuminati conspiracy.
Yeah, I think that's a bunch of malarkey. Jesse Ventura here to close out the episode. I actually thought that this episode of the adventure program was very fun. Alright, well, until tomorrow, where Dr. Fugit will be talking about my film, Predator, and all of the other ones that came afterwards. I hope you, creeps, come back and enjoy it. Until then, this is Jesse the Body Ventura, signing out.